Racing Post Greyhound Television, brought to you in association with Bet365.com, Betfair, Betfred, Coral, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, Unibet, and William Hill.
Hello and welcome to this special lockdown programme at a time when we should have been enjoying the Derby final gala card from Nottingham. Instead of that, all the Rpgtv regulars and a few of the behind the scenes guys have got together to bring us their memories of their most memorable derby from the Wimbledon era of 1985 onwards. So for the next 90 minutes or so, sit back and enjoy some of that fantastic footage, and of course if you back the winner, give them an extra cheer. We must give thanks to Steve Katz of Freeze Frame and Dave Vincent of Vincent Video for their help in getting the footage to us in the pre-Sky Sports days. Now, when the idea for this was born, the edict from executive producer Clive Lawrence was that we could pick any final from 1985 onwards. So bear that in mind when it comes to his choice, which we're going to open with, that the standard company rules are: Rule 1, the boss is always right, and Rule 2, if the boss is wrong, refer to Rule 1. Take it away, Governor.
Well, thanks, JK. As I say, there's no point in making the rules unless you can bend them a little bit for yourself. Not that I haven't got very fond memories of Wimbledon. Some great derbies there for me personally. Pagan Swallow, the first one. Tico, of course. Going on to Rio Quattro, that was a great final for me personally. But let's bend the rules a little bit for me, because I started going dog racing in the very early 1980s. My local track was Slough, and I went to Wimbledon a lot, but I always watched, and I'm sure quite a few of our viewers did, the Derby final on the BBC. And the great White City atmosphere of the Derby final was Indian Joe, I remember. Part Down Jet, Laurie's Panther, of course, and I'm Slippy. But when I started working at the BBC, it was just a stone's throw away from the Great White City, and I vowed to get there for a Derby final, and that I did in 1984. Now, I'm not going to get all sopping romantic about the old lady of White City. She was very much in her dotage then, run down, a limited capacity. Going there on an ordinary graded night was a pretty pitiful experience. But on Derby final night, 1984, was my first experience of the famous Derby Roar. I don't think there's much more than maybe 15, 20,000 people in that day, but it still made the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And that's why 1984 Derby final is my selection for this programme. Here's the lineup then for the 1984 Greyhound Derby. Over 500 metres at White City. In Trap 1 was House of Hope, a 12-1 shot for Jim Wood. Trap 2, the 9-2 shot Spartacus for Matt O'Donnell from Ireland. Trap 3, the outside of the field, the Johnny Norman at 20-1 for George Curtis. Trap 4, the favourite, Whisper Wishes, the eventual winner of course, for Charlie Coyle. Trap 5, my selection unfortunately for the race didn't quite make it, Moran's Beef at 9-4, the second favourite for Joe McKenna. And Proud Dodger completed the lineup in Trap 6 for Francie Murray at 7-1.
Away they go when Whisper Wishes in 4 gets a good break with Moran's Beef in 5. Then comes in 1 House of Hope as they go around that first bend. Whisper Wishes being trouble around the back there. Spartacus checks up badly as they go down the far side. And it's Whisper Wishes 2 lengths clear from Moran's Beef in second. Then comes House of Hope, who's being challenged all the time by the Johnny Norman. Then comes Proud Dodger as they go around the second last bend. And it's still Whisper Wishes, but being pressed now on the outside by Moran's Beef off the final bend. Whisper Wishes headed by a length from Moran's Beef. Then comes Proud Dodger finishing well, but Whisper Wishes just holds on there, and it's very tight in the second.
Whisper Wishes was owned by John Duffy and trained by Charlie Coyle, making him Maidstone's only winner of the Greyhound Derby. Sadly, Maidstone, like White City itself, was soon no longer with us. Maidstone closed around 4 years later. I'm pleased to say that everyone else stuck to the rules when it came to their choice of memorable Derby final, and everything is Wimbledon onwards from now on, apart from maybe a touch of toaster thrown in. We'll keep it in the family first, and Clive's brother, Dave Lawrence, the former Sky Sports producer, is next in line. Now, you might have thought he would have picked one of the Derby finals he was involved in broadcasting, but you'd be mistaken. There is, though, a clue when you think about it, because Dave's greyhound DNA has an awful lot of slough in there and a little bit of a link with Arthur Hitch.
I'm going back to 1986, the second Derby to be run at Wimbledon following its transfer from White City. The first one, of course, was won by Pagan Swallow, trained by Philip Rees, a local Wimbledon trainer. At the time, I had a couple of graders at Wimbledon with Philip, so it was quite something to be involved in a Derby winning kennel. Strangely, we decided to move our dogs to Slough because they weren't quite up to scratch at Wimbledon, and we met up for the first time with Arthur Hitch. And Arthur had a dog in the kennel called Tico, and at the time he was bought for good money out of Clonmel and was considered to be a real classic potential greyhound. So it was quite exciting to sort of follow him during the rest of the year when he won a few races at Wimbledon, and he was then made favourite to win the Pall Mall at Haringey, where he beat Derek Knight's Hot Sauce Yankee in the final. That was some performance, and he very quickly found himself near the top of the anti-post market for the 1986 Greyhound Derby, along with Hot Sauce Yankee, dogs of the calibre of Bally, Grome and Jim, and Fearless Action. So this Derby looked like it was going to be a bit of a classic. To be fair, the 85 Derby had been a bit disappointing, the weather had been atrocious, but in 86 things seemed to be looking up. During the early rounds of the Derby, there were some phenomenal performances. Fearless Action clocked 28.51 in the second round, which was a new track record, but that was quickly eclipsed by Gary Baggs' Lodge Prince, who managed to record 28.34. In the same round, Tico did 28.73. For the rest of the competition, Tico just proved he had the best early pace. He just absolutely rocketed out of the traps. He ran really good bends, stayed wide, kept himself out of trouble, and his back straight pace was a joy to behold. He did go down by half a length in the third round to Fearless Action, but turned that round in the semi-finals when he beat the Jeff Tim Aldersdog by 3.5 lengths. So, to the final. This was the programme for the night. I have all my Derby programmes saved up. I managed to dig them out for this programme. And in the final, Sunday Express was in trap 1 for Peter Rich, who's trained from Ramsgate, of course went on to be a Romford trainer. Easy Prince was John Honeysett. He trained for a group of owners that included Patsy Byrne. He was based at Wembley. Merlin Slippy was in trap 3 for Barbara Tompkins at Coventry, and previous Derby winning owner John Quinn. Fearless Action was in trap 4 for Jeff DeMolder. Tico was in trap 5, and Arthur also had Master Hardy, who was lining up in trap 6. So quite an achievement to get 2 greyhounds through to a Derby final. Alan Smee owned Tico, and David Davis owned Master Hardy. Now the betting was 12-1, 9-1, 5-1, 6-4 joints, Fearless Action and Tico, and Master Hardy was the rank outsider at 18-1. This is what happened.
And away they go, and quite a level break. Tico showing up with Master Hardy. Up on the inside comes Sunday Express, going around that first bend of 5. Tico just gets round in front, a bit of bumping behind as well. Tico now 3 lengths clear from Sunday Express. After these comes Master Hardy, being challenged by Fearless Action as they go around the second last bend, but Tico increasing the lead. It looks like 3 lengths now. Tico 3 lengths clear from Sunday Express. He's being pressed all the time as they come off the final bend, and it's Tico drawing further away now. They're bunching up for second. Master Hardy just gets second, but it's Tico who wins emphatically in the end from Master Hardy. Then came the Sunday Express back in third, but it's a 1-2 for Arthur Hitch. Tico and Master Hardy, but Tico very impressive indeed.
In a sad parallel to our previous memory, Tico provided Slough with its only Greyhound Derby winner, and it too, the track that is Slough, wasn't around much longer. The developers moved in after closing in March 1987. Well, that's 2 of the older generation of Rpgtv workforce taken care of, it's only fair now, I think, that we jump to the younger generation. We'll go all the way forward to 2012. Now, one of the real features of this Derby final was a special market gamble on Farlow Ironman to go off favourite on the night. He was as big as 11-2 in the morning, but duly did head the market as favourite at 6-4. However, he had to give best on the night to the second Derby champion trained by Mark Wallace, as Carn Hughes recalls.
Well, I'm heading back to 2012 now for my Derby memory, and yes, it was Blonde Snapper, owned by Mark Currell and trained by the champion trainer 11 times, Mark Wallace. If we have a brief look at his history, we go back to 2010, where he finished second behind Blue Artisan in the Gimcrack at Hall Green. He then went to Wimbledon for the English Puppy Derby, finishing third behind a sensational Raven Giovanni. And with the world at his feet, they took their chance to head to Ireland for the Irish Puppy Derby at Harold's Cross. But injury struck when he fractured a wrist in a trial there, and obviously put him out for a long time. Now, for some dogs, this could have been a career-ending injury. So they campaigned him for next year's Derby by laying him off over the winter. And early in 2011, I'd done a stint of work experience at the Racing Post and got the job to speak to Mark Wallace about his upcoming Derby runners. And a headline that stands out for me, a key quote, was, "Wallace warns punters to bide time with Snapper, but I genuinely believe this dog can win a Derby." Now, he was installed as the 8-1 anti-post favourite, very short and obviously big high expectations, but got knocked out in the first round, sadly, through a messy race. Following this, they went to Sunderland and he went unbeaten through the £25,000 William Hill Sunderland Classic and broke the track record in the final, showing the true class this dog had. They then went to Henlow, finishing runner-up behind Taylor Sky in the Henlow Derby, who had just won the proper English Derby. And then sadly, injury struck again, and it was a long road back. They left him off over the winter, and Mark had an idea next year for an early Derby, but was worried that the dog wouldn't stand up to the rigours of racing. It was an early Derby due to the fact that the Olympics was here in London in 2012, so Mark took the chance with his team at Imperial Kennels to run this dog at Romford early on in 2012, and he went and won the Golden Sprint. Following that, a month later, he then went on to win the English Greyhound Derby, and for me it stands out as an unbelievable training performance for a dog that's had such serious problems. And speaking to Mark, he is the little dog with the heart of a lion, and he was a dog which, strangely, although he had his problems, he thrived on racing. Now, that Derby was sensational. The likes of Razzle-Dazzle JFK, Riga, Bugatti, Droopy's Loner, Droopy's Jet, the dog that stole the nation's heart with his looks, Coolavani Burt. So for me, it was one that really stood out, and I think it's one of Mark's greatest training performances to date, and I'm sure he probably would agree. And that year was installed as a 66-1 shot, and I just thought the price discrepancy over a year for a dog that had actually won 2 Category 1s, was runner-up in others, was just madness. So I stuck by Mark's words and took a chance. Other dogs that could have made the cut for me were Bandicoot to Pokey, a dog I followed from day one after listening to the legend himself, Mr. Lister, and Loyal Honcho, a dog who was so near the first year but coming back and finally landed that Derby for Seamus Graham. But let's take a look at that 2012 lineup now, so we can have a look at the race itself. And in 1, we've got Follow Ironman for Matt Dartnell. In 2, we've got Coolavani Burt for John Gardner. In 3, Westmead Adonis for Nick Sava. In 4, Taylor Sky for Charlie Lister. In 5, Judicial Ruling for Michael O'Donovan. And 6, Blonde Snapper for Mark Wallace.
Well, what a monster gamble on track 1, Farlow Ironman, as the lads in the ring have reported. 9-2 down to 6-4 is just unbelievable on a Derby final night. As the last one goes in, Westmead Adonis. Of course, Nick Sava looking for his 5th Greyhound Derby. He's done it before. Tom's the best. Westmead Lord have provided him with Derby winners. The Derby roar is up already. And the hair is on the move for the 28th running of the Derby here at Wimbledon. Its old home, of course, White City. The WilliamHill.com Greyhound Derby final of 2012. £125,000 at stake, and there they go, racing up towards the first bend. It's a good start from 4, Taylor Sky, who's going to try and lead round the bend here, and does so successfully. Oh, there's trouble. Blonde Snapper on the outside now goes on, with Farlow Ironman in second as they head down the far side. Blonde Snapper Snapper taken on by Philo Ivan. Oh, get back to Coulibaly Byrne. It's still Blonde Snapper with a lead of half a length over Philo Ivan. They come off the final bend. It's Blonde Snapper. Can he hold on? The answer is yes. Blonde Snapper wins the William Hill.com Greyhound Derby for 2012 from Philo Ivan in second, Mark Currell and Bavley in a team hug. Doesn't he deserve it? He was second with Blondback back in 2005. He was third with Blondino in 2008. He is the winner of the 2012 Derby.
Just choked, absolutely choked.
You have to believe in third time lucky now. You really deserve this, Mark. Everyone's so delighted for you in the restaurant. You've finally done it.
Yeah, it's just great. Terrific, Mark. Great training.
Well done, guys. Go and get your trophy. Well done.
Thanks, Karen. It's always good to hear when a plan comes together. Blonde Snapper winning there for owner Mark Currell as the 8-1 second biggest prize finalist, with the winning distance being 1 3/4 lengths in a time of 28.65. Mark Wallace had first struck the Derby in 2009, 3 years earlier. Now that was the last Derby run on the main side before the stand was switched and the circuit was switched around too. I remember that final night being a sea of orange, rosettes everywhere professing support for the rank outsider, Kinda Ready, who went from Trap 5 wearing the orange jacket. It's Jason Barrisford's Derby final memory. I'm not really sure why he's picked 2009. Maybe it was the last time he had a winning nap.
I have chosen as my Derby highlight Kinda Ready, who won the 2009 Derby at Wimbledon in an absolutely thrilling style. Obviously, there's been so many great derbies over the years, but I wanted to pick one where I'd actually met the winning trainer immediately afterwards. That's happened twice with Dorothy's Wildcat and Kevin Hutton at Toaster, and with Mark Wallace, of course, with Kinda Ready. I actually spoke to him before the race as well. I saw him amongst a blaze of orange. It seems that all his kennel staff and owners were out. I would have thought it was a Liberal Party conference, apart from the fact there was quite a few of them. But I spoke to the champ, champ now, of course, but he was having his first ever Derby runner, and of course hadn't had a winner until Kinda Ready. It was special for many reasons. I was working in what was a wonderful atmosphere at Wimbledon that evening. I got to speak to some famous shrinking violets, Matt Chapman, Wayne Mardell, and the much missed John McCrigg as well. But it was Mark who was, as ever, bullish, and despite the fact that Kinda Ready was going to go off something like 25-1, he really was keen on the chances. And what a race it proved to be. Kinda Ready had a horrible draw, hence the price in Trap 5, but brilliantly tacked across, and it became evident quite soon that it was a two-dog race. But it was Charlie Lister's Fierce Aphonic who was out in front, who was always going to be a very, very tough nut to crack indeed. But in the end, to a great uproar from the crowd, Kinda Ready got up in scintillating style. We didn't know then what we know now, and that was that the future was bright, the future was orange.
And now they're about to go into the boxes for the 2009 running of the Blue Square Greyhound Derby final. Fierce Aphonic's the first one to go into the traps, just poised to go in. So is Trap 4, Glenard Sunrise. Ballymac Russo waiting patiently with Matt Dartnell holding on to Ballymac Russo. In goes Fierce Aphonic, in goes Glenard Sunrise. Now we're expecting on the outside, you can see Kinda Ready about to go in. Ballymac Russo, who's been in such scintillating form. The lead's coming off and the Greyhound's being put into the traps. Wise Thought on the far side also going in. And the last one to walk in will be Trap 3, Farlow Reason with Wise Thought. So all to play for the Blue Square Greyhound Derby final. A roar normally comes up when the hair starts to move here at Wimbledon. There you can see those pictures rattling because of the roar from the terraces. Starlers checking them over one more time. The hair is on the move. Our time has come to crown the champion of 2009 for the Blue Square Greyhound Derby final. £100,000 the winner. Ballymac Russo in Trap 2 is the 2-1 favourite. Here comes the hair. Away we go. Fierce Aphonic's out quickly here on the inside. Wise
Wise Thought tries to go with him, so does Mac Russo. Fears of Phonic goes round the first bend in front and scampers on. 5 kind of ready, moves up in the second, then comes 6 Wise Thought. After these comes 3 Final Reason. It's Fears of Phonic. Some 4 lengths clear into the third bend. Kind of ready, staying on. After these comes Wise Thought. They come round the final bend. It's Charlie Lister and Fears of Phonic with a length lead. Kind of ready's closing. Kind of ready got there. Just got trap 1. Fears of Phonic inside the closing stages. What a run! Mark Wallace's first greyhound in a greyhound derby final. The champion trainer has usurped Fears of Phonic and Charlie Lister, who broke well and led, but what a run from Kinda Ready, the complete outsider at 25 to 1, has won here at Wimbledon.
It's a dream. Cannot believe he picked Zephonic up. Zephonic being the dog he is. Can't believe it. Can't explain it. It's just stuff dreams are made of.
Kinda Ready was owned by Darren Johnson, Chris Badger, Gary Crouch and Lee Jordan, with Wallace saying afterwards that he felt his training CV was now complete with a Derby win. To be fair, he's added a fair bit more to it since. As for Jason, surely he was having a bit of a giraffe with that hair. Anyway, we move on. Errol Blythe is next, and unfortunately we didn't have his first choice of Mick the Miller, so instead he's plumped for 1988, which I would have to say is possibly the highest quality Derby final I've ever seen. It was meant to be all about Curry Hill's Gara. He got trap 1 all the way through the competition, but Errol's eyes were elsewhere in the decider.
It's an impossible task, isn't it? Pick your favourite Greyhound Derby winner. Well, I've been going greyhound racing since 1987, so I'm going to start off very early on in my career as a greyhound journalist, or call me what you want. Going back to 87, joined SIS, went to Hackney, saw the Guineas, saw the lead, all the big competitions there, really enjoyed it, and started going to Wembley, watching the racing there. Fell in love with a greyhound called Gino. Now, Gino had run in the Irish Derby the year before in 1987. He'd come over, stationed with John McGee, was flying around Wembley doing some smashing times, went in for the blue ribbon, couldn't quite get to Pike Alert, went down by the shortest of short heads in an amazing final. Anyway, was following the greyhound left, right and centre, turned up for the Derby, Greyhound Derby, so I had a few shillings on him, and it was my sort of first time to venture down to Wimbledon and watch the Derby, so it was all a big new occasion. Anyway, a lot of people said, Gino, he won't make the final, he won't win a Derby. And really, being a bit of a raw novice at the game at the time, I said, no, he's a super fast greyhound, he'll do the trick. Well, he reached the final, would you believe, in 1988. However, he wasn't going to win it. It was a terrific race. The reason why, you had Curry Hill's Gara, who'd performed miraculously for Ernie Gaskin, had trap 1 throughout the 1988 Derby and was blessed with the red jacket again. Hit the lid. He was sort of a young and up-and-coming greyhound at the time. I did have a bit of a saver on Hit the Lid after watching his semi-final. He turned it up in trap 6, which was all important. The rest of the runners for the final included Stoop Whisper, who was another family favourite at Wembley for trainer John Honeysett, a real fast, strong greyhound who could, bob along that back straight and show terrific staying ability. Make History was the Irish challenger in the race as well. And of course, we also had Comrade Boy, another one for Ernie Gaskin in the lineup. So the lineup for the 1988 Greyhound Derby, it was a terrific atmosphere. In 1, we had Curry Hill's Gara. In 2, Gino. In 3, Stoop Whisper. In 4, Make History. In 5, Comrade Boy. And in 6, Hit the Lid.
The atmosphere this evening is absolutely fantastic. The hare begins its run, approaches the starting track, and they're off, and they're running a brilliantly fast start for trap 1, Curry Hill's Gara. Up to the first bend, Curry Hill's Gara leads on trap 6, Hit the Lid. It's anybody's winning on trap 5, Comrade Boy, swings very wide. Trap 6, Hit the Lid, just about to challenge Curry Hill's Gara down the back straight. Hit the Lid goes on for Curry Hill's Gara, but there's still nippers up. Down the last bend, Hit the Lid goes clear from Curry Hill's Gara. Hit the Lid off the last bend, we're well clear from Curry Hill's Gara. They come out to the line, an emphatic winner of the Daily Mail Greyhound Derby. Hit the Lid wins it for track 3, Stooky Whisper. Curry Hill's Gara is third. A marvellous, marvellous final.
As Errol said, Hit the Lid was trained by John McGee and gave Canterbury its only victory. He was owned by Fred Smith and, as a sad footnote, paraded by McGee's son John Jr., who recently passed away. Now, there have been 89 derbies, only 2 of them won by a trainer called Tony. Is it any coincidence, though, that Mr. Bullen has gone for one of those 2? Now, he's never been described as the people's champion, has Tony Bullen, but Tony Meek had one. Having won it in 1993 with Ringer Hustle, he went back-to-back in 94 with Moral Standards.
Wimbledon Greyhound Stadium became the home of the English Derby in 1985, and I've got fond memories of 1986 myself because I was doing a project at school, a mock greyhound life, should we say. The teachers frowned upon it, some didn't, some did. I'll give them a couple of winners, but Tico was the winner for Arthur Hitch, leading home at 1-2, but I'm going to go forward to 1994 with Moral Standards. Now, many of the good judges in the greyhound world was of the opinion and thinking that dogs are not going to really come from behind to win a derby. Well, Moral Standards for Tony Meek won every single round. His run in the quarterfinals was absolutely superb. I mean, we've seen many a good run at Wimbledon, dogs coming from off the pace, but Moral Standards looked in trouble in qualifying, let alone actually winning that particular quarter-final. He went to post as 9-4 favourite. He became a bit of a people's champion, should we say, due to that thrilling style and clever, intelligent track craft. And in the particular final, people was of the assumption that Up the Junction was going to lead for a long way, and Up the Junction and Air Flyer in 6 did vie for early supremacy, but Moral Standards produced his best break of the competition. He was sitting with a double handful down the far side, and although there was crowding at the third bend, the gap and daylight appeared, and Moral Standards showed that strength and determination to land the spoils for Tony Meek, who had won the previous year with Ringer Hustle. The actual final in track 1 was Up the Junction for Pat Norris. Track 2, Moral Standards for Tony Meek. Track 3, Flag the Fawn for Patsy Byrne. Track 4, Callahoo Daly for Charlie Lister. Track 5, Moaning Lad for Theo Menzies, who went on to win the derby the following year. And in track 6 was Air Flyer. Let's roll back the clock and watch this thrilling, memorable race from 1994.
Yes, and they're all set then for the 1994 Daily Mirror Sporting Life Greyhound Derby final. £50,000 to the winner. We're expecting a fast start from Up the Junction in 1 and Air Flyer in 6. And they're off and running and racing up towards the bend, and Up the Junction gets that fast start. He's up front. Here comes Air Flyer trying to join in. Moral Standards already prominent in 3rd as they go around the first 2 bends, and it's Up the Junction with a half-length lead over 6 Air Flyer. After this Moaning Lad moving up on the outside of Moral Standards as they come down towards the second last bend. It's Air Flyer just going on. Moral Standards slightly crowded. Up the Junction trying to renew an effort. It's Air Flyer from Up the Junction. Moral Standards and Moaning Lad. It's Moral Standards getting up in the closing stages. Moral Standards wins the Daily Mirror Sporting Life Greyhound Derby for 1994. What a wonderful performance from Moral Standards, trained by Tony Meek. He scoops the prize, £50,000.
Tony, one word, really breathtaking.
Unbelievable. He broke better tonight than he ever has done, and he's gone round the bend very handy, and the only thing that could stop him then was trouble, really. He did get in a bit of a mess at the third bend, but he rode it well and absolutely flew home again.
He's a very calm dog. He didn't seem to worry him too much out there tonight, which surprised me. He was only young, and there was a couple of dogs in the race that did get a bit fret up a little bit, but Jake was fine.
That brilliant win for the Jim Wenman and John Jefford owned People's Champion Moral Standards brings us to the end of part 1 of this meander down memory lane. But join us in part 2 when we start looking at the man who became known as the Derby King. When it comes to the Derby, it can't be long till you get a mention of Charlie Lister, OBE, the man who became Derby King, winning the title a record 7 times. Charlie made his name on the independent circuit, but a switch of emphasis in the early 1990s saw him focus much more on licensed racing, and he had his first Derby finalist in 1994 with Callao Daly. 3 years later comes to my choice of memorable Derby final, and it was that won by Lister's Some Picture. Appropriately, Some Picture himself had started off on the independent circuit. Charlie's just recently reiterated that Some Picture's probably the best greyhound he ever trained, and he also nearly became the first dog to do that incredible, and let's say impossible, Derby treble, also getting to the Irish Derby final, having won the Scottish Derby before his Wimbledon success. He ended up being a wide margin winner at Wimbledon. In fact, his winning distance has only ever been bettered in 2 Derby finals, by Monday's News in 1946 and Lucky Boy Boy in 1963. The lineup for the final was Chip Hayden in trap 1 for Sam Sykes, Here's Andy in trap 2 for Paul Stringer, Stowe's Val in trap 3 for Linda Mullins, the brilliant He Knows in trap 4 for Barry Draper, Oaks winner Annie's Bullet in trap 5 for Nick Sava, and Some Picture in his favourite trap 6.
Well, they're all in then. Started checking them over. Just had a quick glance there at He Knows. A couple of them did look a bit nervous on the parade, noticeably Annie's Bullet. We're expecting the 2 bitches to lead, Stowe's Val in 3, Annie's Bullet in 5. Can they dominate the race from the front, or will the favourite Some Picture or He Knows pick them up? With the outsiders, Chip Hayden, and here's Andy. Away we go then for the Greyhound Derby final, and racing up towards the first bend, and 5 Annie's Bullet is away fast, but not as fast as Stowe's Val. Look where Some Picture is already as they go around the second bend, and Some Picture takes up the lead here. He's going clear from Stowe's Val in second. The rest are nowhere as they come down towards the second last bend. Is Some Picture going clear for victory? He's gone 4 lengths clear from Stowe's Val in second. After these comes He Knows, putting it all in, but it's all too late and all in vain, because there's only one winner of this year's Greyhound Derby. It's Some Picture, owned by Steve Spiteri, trained by Charlie Lister. What a greyhound, a unique fighting force he is, isn't he? What a picture he makes. Some Picture landing the Greyhound Derby in style.
Some Picture was owned by Steve Spiteri, and the winning time of 28.23 was the fastest ever in a Wimbledon Derby run when the main stand side was used. Incidentally, that was the only occasion that a Lister Derby victory didn't see him described as unattached. He was officially at Nottingham at the time, so the Nottingham name appeared on the Derby Honours Board long before it was the host venue. Charlie didn't have to wait too long for the next victory, with Rapid Ranger doing the business in the Millennium Derby of 2000. At the time, only 2 greyhounds had ever retained the Derby title, Mick the Miller and Patricia's Hope, but Rapid Ranger was to add his name to that select list 12 months later, as recalled by Phil Donaldson, at his own pace, it has to be said.
Well, having spent most of my formative years, and pretty much most of my adult years too, enjoying my greyhound racing at Wimbledon Stadium, the Derby really first came into my life in 1985 when the competition switched to Plough Lane from White City. And if I think back hard enough, I can still picture the 18-year-old version of myself standing on the terraces at Wimbledon cheering home Pagan Swallow as he swooped for local trainer Philip Rees in that first Wimbledon Derby at 9-1. A big cheer for the local bookies too, one of which of course was my granddad as well. Happy memories, and of course the competition, it may have been an inauspicious start, but many great champions followed at Plough Lane, the likes of Hit the Lid, Chart King, Some Picture, Tom's the Best, the incomparable Westmead Hawk, a back-to-back winner in 2005 and 2006. And what about Salad Dodger for the Romantics in 2014, trained by a rookie Bruno Berwick, real rags to riches story if ever there was one. But when you think of Greyhound Derby and you think of Wimbledon, you think of one man above the rest, and that's Charlie Lister, the legendary trainer. Enjoyed 7 victories in the competition, no less, and 2 of those at the paws of a Rapid Ranger who entered the history books as a dual winner in 2000 and 2001, only the 3rd greyhound at the time to do that, following on from Mick the Miller and Patricia's Hope, later of course joined by the Hawk as well. Rapid Ranger billed by many as just a Wimbledon specialist, but it was much more than that. The dog owned by Ray White, he made the Scottish Derby final, the Irish Derby final as well, and back for a bit of bad luck. Who knows, he could have rewritten the history books when he came back to Wimbledon in 2002 for a 3rd tilt of the competition. Remember, he was in front in the 3rd round when he was caught from behind, fell over and exited the competition, and there ended his bid in the year, won by another shock champion in Alan Gift. But that's by the by. The race we're going to focus on, and one that stands out for me as one of the best Wimbledon Derby finals, was his second victory in 2001. It was a quality field, not just in terms of the greyhounds involved, but the trainers too. Plenty of Derby winning handlers in there. Bit of showbiz as well. Vinnie Jones, the footballer turned Hollywood star, had shares in two of the finalists, Countrywide Towns and Smoking Bullet, the latter back for a second tilt, having been down the field in the race won by Rapid Ranger in 2000. Favourite on the big night was Sonic Flight for Nick Savard, dog who went on, of course, to sire Westmead Hawk, winner of Scottish Derby himself as well. But on the big night, he had to play second fiddle to Rapid Ranger, who was just in superb form as he landed that second victory. Let's have a look then at the lineup. In trap 1 was Countrywide Towns, trained by John McGee. In 2, Castle Irons Danny went on to win a gold collar for Harbour Hitch. Sonic Flight in 3, Nick Savard's star, Rapid Ranger. 4, Charlie in 4, Smoking Bullet, who was trained by Derek Knight in 5, and Droopy's Honcho for a much younger Paul Young ran from trap 6. It was a brilliant lineup, a brilliant race, a brilliant performance, and a brilliant winner in Rapid Ranger. Let's enjoy it again.
Yes, the last of the greyhounds going in. The roar's gone up already. Remember, if you're out on the terraces like these lads and lasses there, they really enjoy it. They're on tiptoes at the moment, peeping down. They look down, they can see the starter wave his flag. The roar again goes up. Everyone expecting a great race. Let's hope all greyhounds come off sound. The hair on the way then for this year's William Hill Greyhound Derby final. Get ready, get steady, because we're rocking, and away we go, and up towards the first bend. Trap 2 Rapid, trap 2 Canals Lands anyway, fast, but Rapid Ranger's going to lead into the first bend from Countrywide Towns. It's Rapid Ranger away so fast again. Countrywide Towns in second. After these comes 2 Castle Irons Danny. After these comes Sonic Flight. They're heading down the far side, and it's Rapid Ranger trying to get success again. He's leading for Countrywide Towns in second. There comes Sonic Flight, but is it going to be Rapid Ranger's Derby again? What a performance, what a break. Trap 4, Rapid Ranger wins the William Hill Greyhound Derby final for 2001. A brave performance from Sonic Flight, but in the end he wasn't good enough on the night.
Greyhound racing relies on the breed's consistency to flourish, and Ray White's Rapid Ranger is testament to that, as he recorded identical winning times of 28.71 in both the 2000 and 2001 finals. Connections were getting quite used to those post-race celebrations. It was all changed though at Wimbledon in 2010, with the stadium switching sides, although the course dimensions remained the same. Some things never changed though, and Derby King Charlie, whose follow verdict was awarded the 2003 title, came out on top for a 5th time, equalling the record of Leslie Reynolds. Dave Clark picks up the story.
Now, whether it's an A8 contest or the Derby final itself, it doesn't get much more exciting in greyhound racing than an ultra-tight finish. All 6 greyhounds turning for home, still in contention. And in terms of Derby finals, well, the final to tick that box more than any other, step forward the year 2010. Now, this was a greyhound derby littered with all sorts of different storylines. William Hill stepping back into the fold as a sponsor, £75,000 up for grabs. Wimbledon itself, the first year in which the derby was staged after the switching of sides, the Mick the Miller stand, which originally was the far side, now where the home straight and winning line was. But the storyline, more than any other, was the truly international feel to the Greyhound Derby final this year. 3 Irish-trained greyhounds, the European champion, the Hungarian-trained Lyre mover, one for Mark Wallace, who of course had won the Derby the year before for the first time with his Kinda Ready, and one for the Derby King himself, Charlie Lister. And it would be Charlie Lister's Bandicoot Topoki who would come out somehow on top. He was a greyhound who was expected to lead, turn handy perhaps, show his early speed and be gone by that 3rd bend. For him to come from near last to first was almost unfathomable. But that is exactly what happened. It was a thriller. It is a simply compelling race. Let's look at the runners then. Down the card, Trap 1, Oran Classic, 1 for the Magic Man, John McGee. He was rolling back the years, John, a former multiple champion trainer, back to do the business. Well drawn on the inside. Perhaps Oran Classic would move off a little bit, but in the red jacket, in Trap 2, that Hungarian trained runner, Lyrene Mover. only really just doing enough in each of the rounds. Was undefeated though heading into the Derby final. Trap 3, Bandicoot to Pokey, named after that popular video game Crash Bandicoot, and of course the New Zealand rugby player Rua Tupoki. He was in the white jacket of Trap 3. Fraser Black's Krug 95 lined up in Trap 4. A strong running salt. Could he work into the race late on? The favourite lined up in Trap 5 for Dolores Ruth, who had, of course, won the Derby prior, a few years before, with Chandler Slippy. Two Malign Jack, another one of two undefeated greyhounds lining up in the final. Would he cut loose? Would he drive that third bend and be gone? He was a 10 to 11 chance to do that. And finally, Adagio out wide for Mark Wallace, looking for back-to-back Derby finals. But it, of course, would be the Derby king himself, Charlie Lister, who comes out on top. Bandicoot to Pokey, almost from nowhere, picks their pocket close home. Sit back and enjoy.
Two Malign Jack, obviously representing Dolores Ruth, who won the Derby with Chandler Slippy. A tremendous run back in 1996. And to think we're all these years on, Dolores doesn't look any different. I know I've aged. I feel as though I age every Derby final. They're pulsating events. The crowd are getting ready for one hell of a Derby final in 2010. Two Malign Jack, the 10 to 11 favourite as the last one goes in. Bandicoot to Pokey, who of course, if you go through the record books, beat last year's winner, Kinda Ready, in the Midland Puppy Derby final last year. That would be a twist of fate as well. Charlie Lister looking for his 5th Derby. The crowd getting ready. John Forster waves the flag for the final Derby that he's officiating on. The hair is going round for the WilliamHill.com Derby final for 2010. The favourites in Trap 5, Two Malign Jack, hoping to keep his unbeaten record and trying to make it 6 from 6 over here. Away we go, racing up towards the first bend, and away fast is Lyrene Mover, and it's going to lead into the first bend from Two Malign Jack, racing in second. After these comes third, Adagio on the outside, then comes One Around Classic. After these comes 3, Bandicoot to Pokey, and at the back is Krug 95. They come down towards the second last bend. Oh, there's bumping between Two Malign Jack and Lyrene Mover. They come round the final bend, and there's precious little between them. Lyrene Mover and also Two Malign Jack. Here comes One Around Classic at 3. Bandicoot to Pokey. Oh, Bandicoot to Pokey on the final stride has made it Charlie Lister's 5th ever Derby winner. What a race we've witnessed here at Wimbledon. I've got to get my breath back. Amazing scenes.
I'm pleased for Ray and his family, and you know, I'm pleased for the dog and myself as well, really. And I know how good the dog is any road. And tonight I thought he got a great chance. I was a bit worried at the corner, but when he started to run around there, he just destroyed him. Good old Rocky.
He did. There was no excuses.
It wasn't just trainer Lister getting the taste for Derby victories, with Bandicoot to Pokey a 3rd victory for owner Ray White. But he'd been beaten to that tally 3 years earlier by Bob Morton after the golden Westmead era. There have been 43 years between the first and second dual Derby winners, Mick the Miller and Patricia's Hope, but we only had to wait 5 years after White's Rapid Ranger before the brilliant Westmead Hawk retained the title for owner Morton and trainer Nick Sava, winning in 2005 and 2006. In the least surprising news of the year, perhaps the picks of Richard Harkness and Darrell Williams notwithstanding, Hawk superfan Julie Collier goes for that 2nd victory.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all keeping safe and well and not going too insane in lockdown. I'm sure you're missing your greyhound racing just like I am. And unfortunately, of course, this year's Greyhound Derby hasn't happened as of yet, but what a chance for us to relive some of the derbies of yesteryear. Very difficult to pick my favourite one. 2018 was actually very special for me when Dorota's Wildcat won. I absolutely love that dog, and I really felt for Kevin Hutton and his partner Donna with what they were going through at the time. The emotion of Dorota's Wildcat winning, a superstar, in my opinion, winning a Greyhound Derby, which is always so good to see. I also really enjoyed 2009 when Kinda Ready won. That was my first Derby as a reporter for Sky Sports, which meant they brought me out the trucks in the car park and into the cauldron that was Wimbledon Greyhound Stadium, and to be there interviewing people right as the dogs were going into the traps. The atmosphere was electric. It's something that I will never forget. And Kinda Ready was a great dog as well. Del Boy, who was known as his pet name, and a dog that I actually got to spend a bit of time with in retirement because a friend of mine homed him. So he was a special dog to me. But I have to go 2006 when Westmead Hawk won his second derby. What a greyhound he was. Again, a very, very special dog. The best dog I've seen in my lifetime. And we knew that history was going to be made that night. He was odds on to win the final, and so it transpired. Sky Sports actually threw the kitchen sink at their production of that Greyhound Derby final, so much so that we won awards for the coverage, and it was a privilege to be a part of. So let's relive that terrific final won by the great Westmead Hawk, where in trap 1 was the Classy Bitch Cleaner's Lady, trap 2 was Mineola Farlow, Westmead Joe lined up in trap 3, Westmead Hawk was in 4, Amarillo Slim was in trap 5, and Clash Derby was in trap 6. Enjoy.
Well, you can see that they're getting excited already. The greyhounds yet to go into the traps. That'll come to a crescendo a little bit later on when the hare comes round. But we're bringing down the curtain on a fantastic day's worth of sport. We've been to Old Trafford to see England win easily against Jamaica. We've been to Trent Bridge, of course, for the cricket, and Epsom Downs where Sir Percy won. Can the Hawk deliver again today at Wimbledon for the final of the William Hill Greyhound Derby? £100,000 going to the winner. The last one just going into the traps as we speak. 4-7 Westmead Hawk. Short price. He'll do it the hard way, but will he do it? We're going to find out very shortly. The hare is on the move. Cleaner's Lady, one of the outsiders in trap 1. Mineola Farlow, the Irish challenger, in 2. Westmead Joe in 3. Westmead Hawk in 4. Amarillo Slim in 5, and Clash Derby, the complete outsider, in trap 6. Here comes the hare. Away we go, and Mineola Farlow breaks fast. Westmead Hawk got a good start. Amarillo Slim's rushing up as they come up towards the first bend, and going round it, Mineola Farlow with a 2.5 length lead over Amarillo Slim, racing in second. After these comes Westmead Hawk, lying in third place. Then comes Cleaner's Lady as they come round the second last bend. It's still Mineola Farlow in front. Westmead Hawk's moving on the inside of Amarillo Slim. The writing's surely on the wall. Mineola Farlow with Westmead Hawk lunging late. He's got there again. He's an icon. He's fantastic. He's superlative. He is Westmead Hawk. Listen to the roar on the terraces. Easy, easy, easy again. It's just fabulous. My heart's racing. We've seen a superstar yet again.
I'm out of breath at the moment. My heart is beating fast. It was. You can't
He's a dog in a million, Nick, isn't he?
You can't get better than that. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
Sarah and Morton would team up successfully again in 2007 with Westmead Lord. And Westmead Hawk wasn't finished with the derby, making his mark as a sire 5 years after his final win, when son Taylor Sky won in a record time in 2011. Having also set a track record in the quarters, then equalled it in the semis. He was also the 6th Derby champion for Charlie Lister, a new record, and the first ever at Wimbledon from trap 1. 2 years after Taylor's Sky, both sire Westmead Hawk and trainer Lister, for the 7th and final time, were back with Side As Jack, which also happened to be the first attended by Rose Draper, although sadly Father Barry's Ballymac Esky had exited at the semi-final stage.
This was the first year that I really got myself involved in the derby. We had Ballymac Esky in there as one of the Antipode's favourites. It wasn't to be for him, he got knocked out in the semi-finals, but it was a terrific final nonetheless. I loved seeing the young dog, Side As Jack, going on to win it, but I think that the race in general was just so terrific and so competitive, which is always good to see. We had 2 Irish challengers in it that year. It was really billed as a battle between the English versus the Irish, and thankfully the English came out on top. But it wasn't done the easy way. It was definitely a tussle for Side As Jack with Ballymac Vic. All the way down the back, they were matched pace for pace, and it was great to watch. It really got the crowd going, and seeing Charlie Lister win his 7th Derby final is just something that I don't think I'll ever forget, and I don't think I'll ever see repeated again in my lifetime. He recorded his fastest time of the competition in the final, which you don't really see very often. We normally see the races slowing down as they're sort of tiring out, but 28.37 for the 4/8 at Wimbledon is pretty decent if you ask me. Let's have a reminder of what was in the final that year. It was trap 1, Side As Jack, 2, Droopy's Jet, 3 Ballymacvic, 4 Early Impact, 5 Bittlesbar, 6 Screen Critic. What a race that was.
Can you hear the tension growing here at Wimbledon? In the last 15 minutes, my palms have got hotter, my bones are shaking. I feel the raw energy here for the William Hill Greyhound Derby of 2013. Kate Miller quoted, "It's the most charismatic event that the sponsors follow in all sports." How right they are. This is a fantastic event. You're watching history in the making. This is Wimbledon. This is the William Hill Greyhound Derby. This is the greatest race on the planet, and there they go! One-siders Jack out fast with Droopy Jet. Ballymacvic on the outside. Three's who you hurdle into the bend. It's going to be Vic who comes out on top. But Siders Jack is fighting back. Here comes Green Critic on the outside. Siders Jack half length up. Ballymacvic has one more go at the third bend. Screen Critic back in third. They come round the final bend. Siders Jack still leading here. Unbelievable. The young dog, Siders Jack for Charlie Lister. Magnificent 7. Siders Jack wins a 7th Greyhound Derby for Charlie Lister, beating Early Impact, who stayed on bravely for second. Ballymacvic just could not get past the puppy on the inside. Breathtaking, marvellous scenes. Ian Sutherland there gives Siders Jack a worthy kiss. I'm still shaking. I can't believe what I've seen and witnessed. Yet another Greyhound Derby for Mr. Charlie Lister. Congratulations, Charlie. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Siders Jack was owned by Darren Johnson and Simon Wooder in a partnership which owed its roots to the 2009 final, when Kinda Ready, part owned by Johnson, proved too strong for Wooder's Fear Zophonic. Thanks to Rose for that, and while the Draper family have gone close, most notably with He Knows finishing second to Some Picture in 1997, after the break we'll hear from someone who does know what it's like to be connected with a Derby champion. Just getting to a Derby final is a fantastic achievement, and two of the Rpgtv team have sampled that emotion at first hand, so there wasn't really any surprise at their picks. 2015 saw the richest ever Derby, with sponsor William Hill offering a winner's prize of £250,000. It was won by Rio Quattro, owned and trained by Danny Reardon, whose assistant is Margaret Harkness. So when we asked her son Richard about his most memorable Derby final, we really shouldn't have been surprised at the answer.
Many Greyhound Derby memories and highlights. The first one going all the way back to 1982. Laurie's Panther, owned by Laurie James, trained by Terry Duggan. He was a fabulous dog. He won the Laurels as well, and he even had the main bar in the old grandstand at Romford named after him. I couldn't do Derby highlights without mentioning Seamus Graham, a great trainer and a friend. In 2004 he brought over the brilliant Premier Fantasy, but it all went wrong, as we know. 2005 he was back, determined not to let the English Derby get away from him. He got 2 finalists that year, Blue Majestic 3rd, Mineola Farlow 4th, of course won by Westmead Hawk that year. 2006 he was back again, Mineola Farlow runner-up this time, and a brilliant runner-up too, but again to Westmead Hawk. In 2007 he brings over Loyal Honcho, runner-up, behind another Nick Savard dog, Westmead Lord. And in 2008 he brings Loyal Honcho back, and he does the business. He lands the English Derby, and a well-deserved it was for Seamus as well. But my selection of the race to see could only be one. 2015, our own Rio Quattro. Trained by Danny Reardon, lightly campaigned, only 23 races, 11 wins. As a puppy, he was brilliant. He got to the final of the Puppy Derby at Monmore. He was brilliant on Puppy Derby in the puppy race on Derby final night, winning by 5.5 lengths. He went on to make the final of the East Anglian Derby at Yarmouth and the Henlow Derby as well. In 2015, the year of the Derby, just 2 events, just 2 targets. The Golden Sprint at Romford, brilliant in the first round, 23.97, breaking 24. Unlucky in running in the semi-final and knocked out. 6 weeks off the track, just a few trials, solely aimed at the Derby, campaigned singularly for the event. Brilliant by Danny. He won the first round, he won the third round, he was second in every other round. and then obviously the final on the 27th of June. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. Against the track record holder, Eden the Kid, who incidentally he stands at stud with now at Richard Cully's kennels in the Colour Kennels. And let's have a look at the race. The runners for the final are Trap 1, Rio Quattro, trained by Danny Reardon 5-1. Trap 2, Farlow Blitz, trained by Owen McKenna, the odds on 8-11 favourite. Trap 3 was Making Paper, trained by Diane Henry 10-1. Trap 4, Eden the Kid, trained by Liz McNair 4-1. Trap 5, Millward's Davy, trained by Paul Young 16-1. And Trap 6, Tynwald Bish, trained by Peter Cronin at 10-1.
You can see the passion, you can feel the noise. I hope you can hear the noise, because this is the William Hill Greyhound Derby final for 2015. They're whipping up a storm beside me. The hare is running. Who will be crowned champion here at Wimbledon for the race that matters? This is the big one. Farlow Blitz in 2 is the favourite. Here comes the hare. There they go. And as race away, Farlow Blitz has timed it. Leads up early. Rio Quattro. Tynwald Bish close up as well. But it's going to be 2. Farlow Blitz leading it by a length and a half. Rio Quattro gives chase. Still in 3rd is Tynwald Bish. Then comes Making Paper. Towards the rear, Millward's Davy and Eden the Kid. Rio Quattro's made a move. And now goes on. It's Rio Quattro, a length clear. The others gather up in behind. They come round the final bend. Rio Quattro will win the William Hill Greyhound Derby for 2015, beating Tynwald Bish and Eden the Kid involved in a photograph for 2nd place. But Rio Quattro has done it. It's carnival time for Danny Reardon and Team Reardon, with Rio Quattro winning at 5-1 in the end, taking the spoils. And that is something that is really deserved, because Danny, of course, who had a stroke just last year, back in training, back with his team, who encouraged him to keep up training with the Greyhounds, and it's all turned right. You can feel the emotions.
Oh, marvellous, marvellous. There's no words can explain it. It's one of those, it's a dream come true. He's a marvellous dog, really. We trained him especially for this race, and it came through.
Did he surprise you the way he won it?
No. I had great faith in him. Always had great faith in him.
You're so calm, Danny, but what's happening inside?
Oh, bubbling. bubbling. Good man, my friend. Well done, thank you.
Enjoy all the celebrations. Congratulations to Danny Reardon, very, very popular winner here.
Never miss the chance for a stud plug, Richard. Top work. For the record, Rio Quattro won by a length and a quarter from Tynwald Bish, and like Blonde Snapper in 2012, was retired after his Derby victory. Just 2 years later, 2017 saw Toaster become only the 4th venue to stage the Derby, and there was a real wow factor which had sadly dissipated over the final years of Wimbledon. We're sure that factored into Darryl Williams' choice, although being part owner of a finalist might also have helped.
They say for every Greyhound owner, to own the Greyhound Derby winner is the greatest experience possible, but to be involved in a finalist is pretty good itself. And I was lucky enough to be in that situation in 2017. I knew Droopy's Acrobat really well from previous connections, and I belatedly saw an email from trainer Seamus Cahill and Teresa, who had acquired the Greyhound, saying that there were shares available. But when I made that call to Teresa, it was a good few weeks on. I thought I'd no chance, I thought I'd missed the boat. But the wonderful people they are, they each had a share and allowed me to take one of their shares. So all of a sudden you're involved with a Greyhound that's got a little bit of class and ability. But what came next was just absolutely amazing. First run I was at Toaster presenting, and he won impressively by 4 lengths. I ended up interviewing myself. Then the second round he stumbled, somehow managed to qualify. Third round he broke well, it was enough to see him through into 3rd. And then you get to the next stage, the quarter-final, which was on Sky. Of course, I was working there that night, and it's just an amazing experience. He pinged the lids, dominant display. You're jumping around like a crazy person afterwards. I had to stop driving home because I couldn't believe what had happened. So suddenly you're in the semi-final. At that stage, you're thinking, well, if we get knocked out now, we've had a great run. And I felt that way until they went to the traps for the final. Then all of a sudden, my mindset changed, and I just so wanted to qualify along with Tom and Tony and Con and Teresa, my fellow owners. And we had a tricky draw in the semi-final. We had a little bit of bumping, but we were there. Suddenly we were in the final. The dream had been achieved. So the next bit is the best bit, as everyone says, because you have that week of dreaming and thinking what may happen. We go to the Derby lunch, no working, just enjoying it, being a part of it. And then you turn up on final night, of course, and you know, it's the first toast to final as well in the marquee, just taking it all in. Then go and watch the race, of course. And we were some way, even though we were close to everyone else, we were some way away from the line. I saw his trap 2 jacket break well. He was in a good position. It soon became apparent he wasn't going to win, but you're then looking and thinking, well, where's he going to finish? But your eyes are also drawn to Seamus's other greyhound at that stage, Astute Missile. For Jeff Hill, we'd spent the evening with Jeff, 28-1 unconsidered, of course, and he got a wonderful position round the bend at the third turn, got inside higher butt, and then Tyrachay's coming at him, and he manages to hold on, as we now know, and just incredible emotional scenes. Seamus had lost his daughter just a few months earlier. You'll probably remember the wonderful presentation shots with the rainbow looking down, everyone saying this was almost fate, this was meant to be. So we loved our experience, we loved our part of that night with Droopy's Acrobat, but my memories really are just what a great achievement, a wonderful achievement for Seamus and Teresa with Astute Missile's victory. In trap 1 is Higher Butt, in 2 is Droopy's Acrobat, in 3 Claire's Rocket, 4 is Astute Missile, 5 is Tyrachay, and in trap 6 Murray's Act.
They're all in for the 2017 Star Sports Greyhound Derby final. The flag has been waved. It's a new chapter in the history of this fabulous race. A test of speed, perseverance, stamina and alacrity. Who will win? Away they go. It's a great start from Astute Missile in 4, leading from Higher Butt in 1 as they go round the bend. Slow away was Murray's Act as they come round the turn. Higher Butt takes over. Astute Missile in 2nd. Tyrachay and Claire's Rocket come next. Then after these comes Droopy's Acrobat. Astute Missile gets inside and goes on. It's Astute Missile, but Tyrachay is coming at it as they come off the final bend. Astute Missile, staying strong, will go and win the Star Sports Greyhound Derby final for 2017, beating Tyrachay in 2nd place. Landing the spoils was Astute Missile for Seamus Cahill. What a run from the Greyhound. He produced an unbelievable start. The rank outsider of the field has won at 28-1. There was a word that Toaster was a favourites track. Oh no, not in the first running of the Star Sports Greyhound Derby. And Seamus Cahill has won a Greyhound Derby. He, of course, was 2nd back in 2002 with Call Me Baby, in behind Alan Gift all that time ago. What a wonderful feeling it must be for Seamus, Teresa, and, of course, the owners of Astute Electronics, who go on and score in this fabulous race.
It is amazing. As I'm stood here interviewing Seamus, look, there's a rainbow just overhead. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it is. You know, sometimes life takes funny courses and that, and this is one tonight, really.
Seamus, it's unbelievable. I'm so pleased for you after all you've been through. I'm really delighted for you. Congratulations.
Jeff Hill was the winning owner there, and what a tremendous insight into being the owner of a Derby finalist from Darrell. But perhaps the main thing to take from that is that he and Phil Donaldson clearly have a very similar taste in wallpaper. Well, we've gone deep enough in this Derby memory fest to think that an Irish-trained winner should have popped up by now, with raiders from across the Irish Sea such an important part of what makes the competition so special. Who are you going to call for that? Ian Fortune, that's who.
As a proud Irishman, I have great memories of the English Derby going back almost 30 years. Of course, the most recent of which came last year at Nottingham, with Bryce's Blake leading home a 1-2-3 for Ireland. Great night for Paul Hennessy and a proud night for myself. I was lucky enough to be in the commentary box, and that honour will stay with me until my dying day. 3 years earlier, Paul Hennessy had also won with JT Jet, his first English Derby success, and a great night for John Turner. JT Jet getting up late in a memorable finish. I could have gone all the way back to 1996 and the brilliant Shandla Slippy. What a year he had for a very young Dolores Ruth. Chart King also had an incredible year in 1999. He won the Easter Cup, Scottish Derby, English Derby for Ralph and Carl Hewitt, and went close in Ireland, crashing out of the quarter-final stages when everything seemed to be falling into place. This century, the first of the Irish winners came in 2004 with Droopy Skulls winning for Ian Riley. The competition will forever be remembered as the Premier Fantasy Derby. He crashed out in the semis when everything seemed to be within his grasp, but Droopy Skulls was a worthy winner. 4 years later, Seamus Graham finally got his hands on the English Derby trophy, with Loyal Honcho making up for his runner-up finish a year earlier. Of course, Seamus had also gone close with Mineola Faro and, of course, the aforementioned Premier Fantasy. Seamus has since left us, as has the winning owner Noel Ryan, two great greyhound men that we remember as we talk about the English Derby. But my choice of the English Derby that I want to see this evening, well, we have to go all the way back to 1992. I was only a young man. I was attending my first English Derby, and I got to see the superstar that was Farlow Melody landing the spoils for the late, great Matt O'Donnell. What a superstar Farlow Melody was. He won 2 Easter Cups. He won 2 Dundalk Internationals. He reached 2 Irish Derby deciders, unlucky in both. But on the night that mattered, he landed his spoils in the 1992 English Derby. He had to work it, he had to do it the hard way. Shustelor really pushed him from the front. Windsor Abbey finished like a train, but Farlow Melody, too good on what was a special night. Just listen to the noise at the old Plough Lane.
They're off for the 1992 Daily Mirror Sporting Life Greyhound Derby as they race up towards the first bend. 5 Siostelwa over the pace. There's been trouble on the inside and Siostelwa goes round with Farlow Melody. A break back to racing in third. That's Penny's Best. They go down the far side. It's Siostelwa, Farlow Melody. They're locked together. Penny's Best looming up, but Farlow Melody goes on from Penny's Best and Siostelwa as they come off the final turn. And it's Farlow Melody to the roars of the Wimbledon crowd. It's Farlow Melody for Windsor Abbey's burst through to take second, but Farlow Melody, the complete greyhound, he's done it on this occasion. He's done it for the big night. Farlow Melody wins it for Matt O'Donnell.
John Davis and Dave Tickner were the winning owners of Farlow Melody, and a significant moment in Derby history with winning trainer Matt O'Donnell having been less than convinced by Wimbledon as a Derby host venue in the early days at Plough Lane. Owen Winkley, now an Rpgtv producer, was part of the furniture in the Wimbledon racing office for many years and recalls one of the most popular Derby victories ever seen. As Richard Harkness said earlier, trainer Seamus Graham, forever linked with the brilliant Premier Fantasy who broke down in the 2004 semis, had had 2 seconds, a third and a fourth in the 3 finals since then.
From my first Derby, Shannon Slippy, to the very last in 2016 at JT Jet, I can honestly say that I've seen some of the greatest greyhounds ever to set paws on the track. From the likes of Sun Pitcher to the double winning champions of Rapid Ranger and Westwood Hawk. For trainer Seamus Graham, who had arguably one of the fastest greyhounds ever to have a lead on in Premier Fantasy, sadly didn't come to be. However, after numerous attempts, 2007, Seamus actually got Loyal Honcho to the final. It was narrowly beaten by Nick Saver's Westmead Lord, but he persevered. 2008 came back. 2008 was a bit different. 140 entries meant 23 heats. 4 dogs qualified for a majority of them. There were a few where 5. Loyal Honcho drew a heat where 4 qualified and finished 4th. And made his way to the final, where there was 2 Irish with 3 dogs and 3 English trainers. Trap 3, Tyra Kieran, trained by Paul Hennessy, trapped along with Loyal Honcho. However, Loyal Honcho got the upper hand on the night, led round first, and never see another dog to win by at least 2-3 lengths. The joy on Seamus's face when he actually won the title would never be replaced. Surrounded by his friends and family, you could tell that this meant a lot to him and that a lifelong achievement had finally been achieved. Unfortunately, Seamus passed away in 2014 and the sport lost a very great trainer and arguably one of the best.
We're set and ready for the 2008 running of the Blue Square Greyhound Derby final. John Foster will come towards the front of the traps and check that everything is okay. One by one, he checks them over. We've got joint favourites at the moment, Loyal Honcho and Tyra Laurel. Tyra Kieran at 11-4. The hare is in motion for the Blue Square Greyhound Derby final of 2008. The roar's gone up. Here comes the hare. Just a little matter of £100,000 at stake. And there they go, and racing up towards the first bend, and Loyal Honcho's first to show up from Tyra Kieran. Then comes Kryptonite. Loyal Honcho goes round the bend in front. There's trouble for Tyra Laurel, and also Trap 6 Blondino was involved. Linton Express has fallen at the back. It's a head down the far side. I'm glad to say Linton Express is on his feet, but it's Loyal Honcho for Seamus Graham, the man who's had so many problems with his greyhounds, is still out in front. Loyal Honcho's going to win the Derby from 3. Tyra Kieran in second place. Across the line in third was Trap 6 Blondino. But what a memorable time for Seamus Graham. No one deserves it more than Seamus. Of course, you can go back to the years in 2004 when Premier Fantasy smashed his hock. Unfortunately, at the semi-final stage, 2 finalists in 2005. A brave effort from Minio Lafano in 2006. Another brave effort from Loyal Honcho last year.
Seamus, about time.
About time, it's a long time coming, but you see, there's only one way you'll do it, is keep at it. And we did that.
I mean, you fully deserve to win it. I mean, you've so much bad luck over the years.
Yeah, we had it, and thanks very much to my family for giving me the time to do it, and I'm delighted.
With a combined age of 152 years, trainer Graham and owner Noel Ryan were probably setting another record unless you know better. Lenson Express was in the wars. It was really no harm done, as less than 3 months later he was winning the Classic at Sunderland. Hobbsy's picked the year that I first not only attended the Derby final, but backed my first Derby final winner. The slight twist to that is that I did it so when the race had actually finished, and I still got 2-1, so desperate were the bookmakers to hedge their bets with hot favourite Tapwatcher in a desperate photo.
Well, when Bossman Clive says, Hobbsy, come up with your favourite Derby champion, for me, that's just an impossible task. I cannot weigh up the relative merits of what Westmead Hawk did and those mighty successes back-to-back for Nick Sava, to what maybe Rapid Ranger did with his back-to-back successes, and any of Charlie Litter's magnificent 7 victories. Then you have the wonderful successes of Mark Wallace and Kevin Hutton, most recently, the Toaster days, the Irish successes, Loyal Honcho and Seamus Graham, Paul Hennessy and his success at Nottingham even last year. Just too many memories and some great stories, some great occasions. In the end, I went for 1987, probably for selfish reasons, because it was very much a near miss, because I didn't back the winner Signal Spark, but I certainly backed the runner-up Tapwatcher. He was trained by Bob Young, the Hove trainer, who became a family friend for many years to come thereafter. For Bob Foster, the owner, of course, Tapwatcher, he'd done nothing wrong heading into that Derby final. And it was a pretty good Derby final when you look at it. Of course, it was the 3rd Greyhound Derby at Wimbledon, and sandwiched between the legendary Tico in '86 and the wonderful Hit the Lid in 1988, which is pretty much considered one of the great Derby lineups of all time. But 87 wasn't that bad as well, when you think the maestro Geoffrey de Mulder had 2 runners, Slaney-side Speed and NSC. There was Stooky Whisper for John Honeysett. There was also Ricasso Tiller for Theo Mensis, who would later win the Derby as well, the brother, of course, of Nick Sava. There was Signal Spark for Gary Baggs, the Walthamstow trainer. The Stowe at that stage had never won a Greyhound Derby. He was owned by Toffee, a big-time owner at that stage, a real character owner. And then there was Tapwatcher, who'd done nothing wrong, and going into the Derby was a warm order. I think he was fastest outright. He was certainly the ground who clocked the fastest sectional during the Derby. But come the Derby Roar, the cauldron that is, of course, Wimbledon Stadium, he missed the break and he was under pressure. Try as he did, he couldn't quite get to Signal Spark, who won by a short head. Great atmosphere, some fantastic scenes thereafter. But albeit it was a massive crowd, I'll let you into a little secret. I wasn't one of them. I wasn't there. I was in South London's finest nightclub at that stage, the Bonbonnie in Herne Hill, and I was listening to what was unfolding at Wimbledon via the phone lines, and no doubt listening to the commentary of Mark Sullivan, who later became a colleague and friend, of course still a member of the Greyhound Writers Association. Now I'm pretty convinced, okay, I had a beer in one hand and plenty of 10p's in the other, that Tapwatcher had won. I'm pretty certain. I remember that Signal Spark was in front, but the favourite was beginning to get up. Maybe the 10p's had run out, but as they crossed the line together, I was pretty convinced that Tapwatcher had won. Roll on after a night, no doubt, of celebrating, picking up the Sunday papers to see the results the next day, confirmation. That's what you did in those days, kids, of course, to see, to my astonishment, that the 14-1 chance Signal Spark had won the Daily Mirror Sporting Life Greyhound Derby of 1987. I'd missed out, it was a near miss. And I remember reading the racing manager, then Bob Rowe, of course, saying that it was closer than a short head. There was a cigarette paper between Signal Spark and Tapwatcher. Very much a case of close but no cigar, not just for Hobbsy and his anti-post wager, but of course Bob Young as well. Great scenes though thereafter for Gary Baggs. It was the greatest night of his greyhound racing life. Walthamstow's first Derby success. I think he'd only been at the track, I don't know, was it a matter of months, perhaps a couple of years at the most. He'd only had a licence for 8 or 10 years anyway, and he celebrated along with Toffee and his entourage long into the night. So 1987, some fond memories, because we've lost since, of course, Gary, and we've lost Bob and Theo and John and Jeffrey, but fond memories of what was a very special 1987 Daily Mirror Greyhound Derby at Wimbledon. Enjoy the rest of this Derby special in unusual circumstances, of course, but enjoy.
They're all in traps, in 1 in EC and 2 Stoop. Whisper a final check by the steward down there to see they're all turned the right way. Ricastle Tiller in 3, Signal Spark 4, Tapwatcher 5, and Slaney Side Speed right out on the outside. The hare already on its way down to the third bend. Let's see the break here, because it's vital for the favourite to get away, and the favourite doesn't get a good start. It's an EC in on the inside, and the 4 dogs, Signal Spark, are going to lead into this first bend. Signal Spark goes into the first bend. 1 in EC gives Tapwatcher a bump. Ricastle Tiller in 3 is doing the chasing, but a Signal Spark out in front, down the back straight. Signal Spark being chased by Tapwatcher. Behind them in EC and Ricastle Tiller, but a Signal Spark out in front from Tapwatcher. Signal Spark leaves Tapwatcher around the 4th bend. Tapwatcher in on the inside, Signal Spark on this side. They're racing up to the line, Signal Spark and Tapwatcher. Very difficult to separate them there, Signal Spark and Tapwatcher. It's definitely gone to a photograph, but Signal Spark maybe on this side held on. Signal Spark surprised everyone, got away to a flyer of a start, and Tapwatcher, the one we expected to get up there, had to do all the chasing. You can see the anxious faces down there. Here it is. Signal Spark has won it. Tawfiq El Ali and Gary Baggs of Walthamstow. That's the first win for Gary and for Toffee. And Signal Spark has held on, beating Tapwatcher, the hot favourite. And there's Toffee in the middle there with that head of hair, and everyone wants to jump in and kiss him.
Winning owner Tawfiq Al Ali was a major force in the sport in the late 1980s, while trainer Gary Baggs provided Walthamstow with the first of its 2 Derby victories, the other coming via Kenny Linzell's Slippy Blue 3 years later. 2 things came to mind watching that segment. Firstly, it was an atmosphere like nothing I'd ever experienced before, and secondly, it really is frightening what lockdown can do to some people. Hobbsy, surely the hair can't be that bad that you've got to wear a hat. Although Wimbledon had been accepted as a proper Derby venue after just a couple of years, it was still missing something, namely an Irish champion. In fairness, I doubt that's why Rpgtv director Bev Lawrence chose 1989 for better or worse.
The first time I attended a Greyhound Derby was in 1988. It was a brilliant hot summer's evening. The drinks were flowing, and also Clive proposed to me that night, but it was wrong because he wasn't actually looking at me and he was just so drunk. I remember it was on the first bend at Wimbledon, so I didn't take his proposal. It was a brilliant final though, Hit the Lid won. The following year, 1989, we actually got married that year. He actually proposed to me properly. But that, back to the final. Kilcannon Bullet and Lartigue Note, the two top dogs. But my favourite, Lartigue Note, I'd been following right through the rounds. It was a brilliant lineup and a brilliant final, and Lartigue Note did the job. The lineup for the 1989 Greyhound Derby. In Trap 1, Castle Ivy Mick, 10-1, Frida Greenacre, the trainer. In Trap 2, the favourite, Lartigue Note. Even money favourite, Joe McKenna, the trainer, and the only Irish finalist. Trap 3, Culloden Style, 25-1, Paul Stringer. Trap 4, Cats Rock Rocket, who beat Lartigue Note in the semi-final, and that dog was running at 7-1, trained by Bill O'Hare. Trap 5, Early Vocation, trained by John Honeysett, 10-1. And Trap 6, Kilcannon Bullet, 2-1 second favourite, trained by John Coleman.
Greyhound's now been put in the traps. Trap 1, Castle Ivy Mix already in. Lartigue Note just going in the favourite from Ireland. Then there'll be Paul Stringer putting Trap 3, Culloden Style in. Fantastic atmosphere tonight at Wimbledon, obviously large crowd. Everyone's come here to see the big race. There he goes, Culloden Style safely in. Trap 4, Cats Rock Rocket's gone in. Early Vocations in Trap 5. Just remains for Kilcannon Bullet to go in from Trap 6, and then we're away. And the famous Derby Roar strikes up already. This has been carried forward from White City. As soon as the hare moves, everyone's cheering, and it really is loud tonight. There's a fantastic crowd, fantastic atmosphere, superb weather. Any second, the hare will be running. There they go, hear the cheers from the crowd. Let's see who's going to win it. Will it be Lartigue Note, will it be Kilcannon Bullet, or will it be one of the less fancied runners? The hare's just come around to the traps, and Lartigue Note breaks well, Castle Ivy Mick going well, and Early Vocation going well, but Lartigue Note is in the lead. Lartigue Note's done what he threatened to do throughout the competition, and annihilate his opponents. He will not be caught from here. Lartigue Note absolutely slaughtering his field. It's Castle Ivy Mick in second, it's Early Vocation third, but there's only one winner. The cheers have already come up from the crowd. Lartigue Note's going to win it. Kilcannon Bullet runs on to be second, Castle Ivy Mick third, but it's Early Vocation, Culloden Style, Cats Rock Rocket. This could be one of the great greyhounds of all time. Lartigue Note has set Wimbledon alight. He got out, he actually led to the first bend, and there was no doubt from there on. Lartigue Note, the classiest runner before they went to traps, has proved himself a class runner on the night.
The winner was trained by Joe McKenna, previously successful with Park Down Jet at White City 8 years earlier, and owned by Carl McCarthy. On that Lartigue note, it's time for another break, but it wouldn't be cricket if we didn't have some more for you, so don't go anywhere. We've decided to send Ali Brown into bat first in this section. Now, Ali didn't make his first class debut until 1992. So say for a bit of thrashing around for Surrey in the one-day format the previous year, he probably had plenty of time to get down to Wimbledon for the Derby, doubtless looking for exotic forecasts and tricasts.
For my favourite Greyhound Derby champion, I'm going for 1991 and Ballandary Ash for the Patsy Byrne Kennel. Of course, the previous year in 1990, Druids Jono coming agonisingly close to 4-7 favourite in the final for Patsy and Prince Edward. But 1991 proved a far superior year for them, and taking the Scottish Derby with Phantom Flash earlier in the year, and of course Ballandary Ash securing the English Derby. For me, Derby champions, there were quite a few that made the shortlist. I thought Some Picture was the best wide that I ever saw. Tom's the Best, another notable champion. Of course, Westmead Hawk, probably the most surprising of all, coming from off the pace in both 2005 and 2006, had his own sat nav. But it was Ballandary Ash, the one for me, my first ever Greyhound Derby final. Concentration, Fearless Mustang and Phantom Flash were the favourites. Fearless Mustang making the final unbeaten. Concentration turning in the traps midway through the competition. Of course, Phantom Flash going out catching trouble in the quarterfinals, but it was Ballandary Ash that sealed the deal from trap 5 in the final, winning for Patsy and Pa Fitzgerald. Down the card, Dempsey Duke was in trap 1 for Terry Kibble. In trap 2, Dunmurray Brandy for Fred Sibley. In trap 3, the favourite, unbeaten throughout the competition, Fearless Mustang for Jeff DeMulder. In trap 4, Summerhill Super for John Copplestone. In trap 5, Ballandary Ash for Patsy Byrne, and of course It's All Over Now for Jer McKenna in trap 6. But it was trap 5, Ballandary Ash, that won it for Helen Roach. Let's have a look at it now.
So away they go for this year's Derby final. There's already been some crowding out the boxes, and Fearless Mustang suffered the worst, and it's 5 who goes round in front. Ballandary Ash, oh, there's more trouble at the first bend. Ballandary Ash clears it though and is well clear from It's All Over Now in second. After these comes racing in third Summerhill Super down towards the second last bend, and they've all got to catch Ballandary Ash. Still some 3 lengths clear from It's All Over Now, trying hard to close the gap. After this comes Dempsey Duke staying on strongly, but up towards the line it's going to be Ballandary Ash. Ballandary Ash wins this year's Derby ahead of It's All Over Now in second, and Dempsey Duke, who again stayed on well for third spot. But what a performance there from Ballandary Ash.
As Ali said, the win for Ballandary Ash saw trainer Patsy Byrne go one better than with Druids Jono 12 months earlier, with the winning distance for Helen Roach's dog back to It's All Over Now being 1.5 lengths in a time of 28.78. Well, how do you follow on from that? Well, Miki got in before me when picking the 1999 decider. It's probably the most thrilling Derby final I can recall. The race was made by an unlikely pace setter in Frisbee Full, meaning that the market leaders Chart King and Deerfield Sunset were forced into a fantastic back straight buckle.
Asked to pick my favourite Derby, it was pretty easy. I'm going back 21 years to 1999, the end of the century. Well, I was there supporting Potto Storm, being an owner down at Dave Mullins' kennel. A couple of coach loads went down to Wimbledon for the final. Potto Storm, earlier in the year, had dead-eated in the Grand National. David's mother, Linda, training Hello Buttons. They dead-eated Potto Storm and Hello Buttons. It was going to be a tough ask for Potto Storm. In trap 3, went off at a big price, but the atmosphere was nothing I'd experienced at a dog track before. There'd been big nights at Romford, but it was fantastic atmosphere at Wimbledon. We enjoyed it immensely. We were there to support Potto Storm. I'd actually backed Chart King. It's Chart King who went off an odds-on jolly. Now, Chart King had gone through unbeaten in the Scottish Derby, came to Wimbledon and did likewise. A striking-looking brindle, nice stride on him, and he managed to land the spoils. Well, we're going to take a look at the lineup before we have a look at the race. In 1, Deerfield Sunset. In 2, Pure Patches. Potto Storm winning 3. A Secret Crystal was in 4. Frisbee Full in 5. And the odds on jolly, Chart King, in 6. We'll take a look at the race. Enjoy.
It's deafening out here, Jeff, out in the crowd. You can see anticipation for the 1999 William Hill Greyhound Derby final. The 69th running of the Greyhound Derby final. We've yet to have a trap 1 winner here at Wimbledon. Deerfield Sunset 11-10, Chart King 8-11 just before the off. The hare's on the move. Get ready for the action, and away we go. Racing up towards the first bend. Frisbee Full track down in front. Here comes Chart King on this near side. One Deerfield Sunset with a pitch as well as they go around the first bend. Frisbee Full gets round in front ahead of trap 6, Chart King. After these comes 1 Deerfield Sunset and 4 Secret Crystal. Pure Patches was knocked over the first bend. Deerfield Sunset's coming with a run on the inside. Chart King's got his head in front, but Deerfield Sunset pressing in now.
Charking out in front. Deerfield Sunset trying to close, but Charking, he's won the Greyhound Derby for 1999. What a performance! He didn't lead. He was led up by Frisbee Fall. What determination! Ralph and Carl Hewitt must be ecstatic at the moment as Charking wins the 1999 William Hill Greyhound Derby final. What a performance! What a greyhound! He's won the Scottish Derby. He's won the English Derby. He's broken track records at Shelbourne Park in the Easter Cup when he won that. He's a competition greyhound through and through.
What he done tonight is phenomenal, and he's a true champion. He's a true champion.
I actually thought at halfway he was beaten because Red was coming up on the inside Deerfield Sunset.
I thought so too, but he hit that third bend, and he's a dog that loves to drive the bend. He's fearless, he doesn't care. He drove the bend and he come home, and we're delighted, so we're over the moon.
Officially trained by Ralph Hewitt, Charking was a real family affair as he was co-owned by brother Carl. He went on to win 16 successive races by landing the first 2 rounds of the Irish Derby, but defeat and elimination in the 3rd round there not only ended his Triple Crown prospects because he'd already won the Scottish Derby, but also precipitated retirement. I'm glad to say that Pure Patches, who suffered a broken hock at the first bend in that final, went on to stand at stud and have a long and happy retirement with the Luckhursts. 3 years later at Wimbledon, there were some real bruising encounters. A drama and trouble-packed 3rd round in 2002, which proved to be dual champion Rapid Ranger's swan song, having been brought out of retirement for a tilt at a 3rd derby, saw the competition dubbed the Demolition Derby. Tanya Stevenson recalls the most unlikely of eventual champions.
Well, Wimbledon, Greyhound Stadium of Dreams, isn't it? Plough Lane. Also, for some time, it hosted the Greyhound Derby. I once was an owner there myself. I loved all my greyhounds, but none were good enough to run in the Derby itself. Now, looking back into my working days in the ranks of bookmaking, going back to the 80s, I recollect the Derby when, working at Maidstone, when Charlie Cole's Whisper Wishes won, and we were all cheering Whisper Wishes, and he obliged. And then, of course, at Canterbury, I was working at Canterbury and listening to a crackly radio when Hit the Lid won. Amazingly, he'd been a grader at the Kent track. Now also you can think of the names of Westmead Hawk, the superlatives to run out for him, and the other dual winners, I can top of my head, is Rapid Ranger. Now, when I sort of pay more scrutiny to the Derby itself, I hone in on 2002, and the aforementioned Rapid Ranger went amazingly for a 3rd victory in that race, but unfortunately, due to trouble in running, he was knocked out at the 3rd round. What a shame that was. Also in the contest, but never getting to the final, was Ale Ronan. I think he was a favourite outright. You also had Priceless Rebel in the competition, and Santa Vita, that also ran. Top Savings never got to the competition, really sadly. It was named beforehand. However, you know, Rapid Ranger, his name in folklore, greyhound folklore, was assured. Yet 2002 was going to give us a wonderful surprise. A competition, the Derby, that the fairy tale hook is what we all crave after, and this was indeed going to be a fairy tale. So looking back, the final lineup for June the 1st, 2002. Let's have a look down the card then. In trap 1 was Crack Him Out. That was 1 of 2 runners for Brian Clemson from Hove. That was 9-4. Wingate Java for Cheryl Miller for the then named Citybourne, course now Central Park. The enormous and wonderfully talented Pilot Alert, the Bellevue Raider, was a 2-1 favourite for the final itself, came out trap 3. Brian had 2 in the race, Mr. Clemson. He had Blue Gooner coming out trap 4. Alan Gift, Claude Gardner, well, 16-1 the SP, but in the morning and beforehand we know was an enormous 25-1 chance. Another Raider from Hove. That track had 3 in the race. And in the Stripe Jacket, the 6th dog was Call Me Baby. Seamus Carhill's runner was 8-1. Well, this was going to be a wonderful, wonderful fairy tale. Once upon a time, ending in a happily ever after. It was victory for Alan Gift from trap 5 for Claude Gardner. So sit back like me and enjoy an underdog's story and glory.
Yes, this year's William Hill Greyhound Derby final, £75,000 going to the winner. the richest ever English Greyhound Derby. The hare on the move. It's wide open if you ask me. Pilot Alert, just the favourite here at 2 to 1, 9 to 4. Cracking man, off we go and racing up towards the first bend. It's 5 Alan Gift down quick from 4 Blue Guna. Off this comes Call Me Baby. They go round the first bend and round it. It's 4 Blue Guna going on with 5 Alan Gift. Alan Gift now out in front by a length from Blue Guna. Then comes Call Me Baby as they head down towards the third bend. It's still trap 5 Alan Gift in front, leading here. Call Me Baby challenging on the outside as they come off the final bend. It's Alan Gift and Call Me Baby after these. Comes trap 4. Blue Guna up towards the line. Alan Gift pulls it out. Alan Gift has led throughout here for trainer Claude Gardner, and what a shot at around 16 to 1 on the board. This typifies this year's Greyhound Derby. What an unusual Greyhound Derby we've had. The William Hill Greyhound Derby final won by trap 5 Alan Gift, trained by Claude Gardner, owned by Mrs. A. Bell and Mr. I. Brenchley, taking the honours of the William Hill Greyhound Derby final from trap 6, Call Me Baby in second place.
A big moment for the popular Claude Gardner there and owner Ian Brenchley, and also for Hove with the famous stadium ending a 75 years plus wait for a Derby champion. Also kudos to the Daily Telegraph's Adrian Hunt, who now sits on the Greyhound Regulatory Board disciplinary panel, for he found him and tipped him up on the day when he was available at 20 to 1. The last of our picks is the 2016 Derby, which transpired to be the last staged at Wimbledon, but was the first on Rpgtv's roster for presenter Rachel Casey. It was also won by an Irish-trained greyhound, so when asked for Rachel's favourite and most memorable final, what do you think the answer was?
Wimbledon Stadium was the home of the Greyhound Derby from 1985, the final chapter of this magnificent race at this venue, 2016. The winner, JT Jet, a fantastic competitor, staying wide, finishing strongly in what was a very eventful race, an exciting race as well, and such a young greyhound, a great dog, and who knows, maybe he could have come back, followed up and won this race back to back at Wimbledon, but that was never to be. It was a first victory in the race for Irish trainer Paul Hennessy, a first for him, but the last hurrah at Plough Lane. For the final, in trap 1, Lenson Rocky, in 2, Cloran Paddy, trap 3, Droopy's Roddick, 4 in the black jacket, Peregrine Falcon, 5 was High Bus, and finally, the champion, donning the stripes, JT Jet.
It's the 32nd running here of the William Hill Greyhound Derby here at the stadium, Plough Lane, Wimbledon. Here comes the hare. Get ready for the action. What's set for this year? We're about to find out as the hare comes round and away they go, running up towards the first bend. Higher Butt shows the pace up. JT Jet in the position on the outside. Off these comes Lenson Rocky. They go down the far side. Higher Butt by 2 lengths over 1 Lenson Rocky in second. After these comes JT Jet and they reach the third bend. Higher Butt still there. Lenson Rocky coming. After these, Droopy's Roddick. JT Jet towards the line. It's going to be very close between JT Jet wins the William Hill Greyhound Derby final from Droopy's Roddick in second place. It's certainly an Irish one too, and there was a huge animation beside me from the Irish. They've got the 1-2, that's for certain, with JT Jet, who's gone on to score from Droopy's Roddick. Back in third, the Welsh Raider Higher Butt. Then we had Lenson Rocky. After these, Cloran Paddy just ahead of Peregrine Falcon. But JT Jet has won for trainer Paul Hennessy.
This dog has more speed than what they give him credit for. He's an incredible competitor, and thanks be to God it worked out. I have so many people I could thank, I could spend all night, but there's been some serious help and some serious effort put into this dog getting here today, and it goes back over a couple of years, but as I say, it's just incredible. It's wonderful. I'm delighted.
A first win there for owner John Turner and also for trainer Paul Hennessy, but a bit more from him later. Hennessy also joined Nick Savert as the only handlers to have won all 3 derbies, England, Ireland and Scotland. So there we are with our Derby final memories, and doubtless have been many missed out, which means so much to so many different people. The Derby really is the most magical time of the year in the most magical sport of greyhound racing, and let's hope it's not too long before we're all making memories again. We play out with the still reigning Derby champion, Paul Hennessy's Priceless Blake, owned by Brian and Kathleen Murphy and expertly called home by Ian Fortune on the night the eyes of the greyhound world were on Nottingham. Goodbye and see you soon.
And there's the bell. The runners in traps now for the final of the Star Sports Derby. Magical Bale, Ballymactaz, Priceless Blake, Skywalker Logan, Drewby's Expert and Clonbrine Prince. Racing, good start by trap 3. Priceless Blake flying out of trap 3. Up the inside 1, Magical Bale showing plenty of pace, but Priceless Blake takes the corner and goes on from in second 2. Ballymactaz, then comes 4. Skywalker Logan and Magical Bale. A further gap to Drewby's Expert and Clonbrine Prince, but it's Priceless Blake at the third bend. Leads for Paul Hennessy, Brian Murphy and Kay Murphy onto the final bend. 2 Ballymactaz is trying to close, but it's 3 Priceless Blake and Ballymactaz. A 1-2 for Ireland. Priceless Blake will get there. Second is Sick or 2 Ballymactaz, and back in third was 4 Skywalker Logan. A 1-2-3 for Ireland, but it's Priceless Blake that wins for Paul Hennessy. Out and gone, that's what it's all about.
Racing Post Greyhound Television, brought to you in association with Bet365.com, Betfair, Betfred, Coral, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, Unibet, and William Hill.